anybody who I talk to, I always say this. I say, become someone's agent before you're actually their agent. And I truly believe that that's been one of the biggest difference makers for me is I invest into these people from a very early point in time. And I'm not saying money, but I invest my time, I invest my energy, and I invest my knowledge into helping these people from the day I meet them up until the time that we actually sign on the dotted line. My belief is that I'm going to provide you with so much value that you would never go anywhere else. And it works.
Coach Pipes, pleasure. Thanks for taking time to be able to actually plug in and share your guys' brilliance with this amazing group of men and women that are going to be here today. And I think it's going to land very, very well because I've got owner of TheShareGroup, Mr. Tim Slevin, that's going to be talking to you guys. Three amazing business owners with Blake and Brandon and Maximilian. I love that name, Maximilian, man. But today you guys are definitely in for a treat. And we get to talk like the reality of building multiple millions of dollars worth of businesses doing the real work, which you guys know that is near and dear to my heart. I'm not going to eat up any time at all. I'm going to turn this over to Tim and let him sort of take the ball and run with it. But guys, I will say one thing. Notice right now the great news of what is taking place. We have the gradual decline of interest rates that we're beginning to experience from over 7% a couple of weeks ago to today. It's not big drops, but it's like 6.84 to 6.82 to 6.81. And obviously I talked to a lot of you guys that have teams and you're like, man, our closings for April were a little bit down. They weren't quite what we needed to see them. Some of you guys individually as well too. And just got to take into account, man, like what we saw in end of February, really end of March, beginning of April with the tariffs, with the, the response to that with the economy and also with interest rates, really threw a curveball. And anytime that you see something along those lines, it's an opportunity to lean in, right? Because you may not be able to make up what happened in April, but I'll give Bill Davis a big shout out. Bill Davis was not happy with the closings that he got in April, 20 something deals, not bad. I'm sure a lot of us would be happy at 20 something transactions, but he's at 42 for May. He did the right thing. He pivoted. They over-indexed in terms of some traditional business model components, prospecting, following up aggressively with leads, right? Really, hitting their open houses stronger. And now that May is 2 times what April was. So I want you guys just to keep that in mind that you are in control. And these gentlemen, double B&M, Blake, Brandon, and Maximilian, right? They're walking testament to basically however hard it is that you want to be able to work is you being able to write as big of a check to yourself as you possibly can. So Tim, I'm going to turn it over to you, brother. I'll let you take the ball and roll with it. I know you're going to introduce these 3 amazing gentlemen.
This is amazing. Thank you very much, Coach Pipes. I'm just excited to be here again. I've been to 2 of your events. I've met these 3 gentlemen because they showed up in my shop, started buying leads and doing amazing things. Here's a quick video intro. Hopefully our sound's working okay.
We have realtors who are having tremendous success, all backed by TheShareGroup leads, and I really want to share it with you.
Cold calling your leads, just from your leads. I think I have about 39.6 million in the pipeline, just from leads that I generated through the call list that I had from you.
In terms of what I've invested into the TheShareGroup on leads, I've probably invested about $1,500 and I've closed 84,655 worth of GCI. And I ran the numbers on that. That's a 5,544% return on investment. So that's a pretty good return on investment.
So what we're going to do today is take those people out of the ad and put them in front of you. And we have one for Blake as well. He's worked with us for years. I'm just going to set the table about, what our business is. This is, again, not a commercial. This is an opportunity for you to interview and understand a unique and specific approach, which we simply enable through the TheShareGroup, technology and data. So first line on the page is these are high performance leads. Are going to build your pipeline because that's what realtors will click on. If I say that's going to happen, you're going to be interested. You're going to show up to the webinar. You're going to find out what's going on. But the truth is, there are no such things as high performance leads. There's high performing realtors that create lead generation systems that work for them. So what we really sell are weights. And what people want to do is build muscle, which is revenue. So we can help you get there for sure. This is really for realtors who, and maybe some of this will identify for you, but you don't like giving away 30% or more of your commission income. Maybe you're doing great lead generation, but you want better prospect contacts. You're kind of disappointed by the ROI that you're getting off of paid leads, FSBOs or expireds, and overly competitive, overworked, publicly available lead sources are certainly helpful, but they're not always the best outcome for outbound lead generation and prospecting. So low quality leads, if you bought leads, you've bought bad leads. If you've been promised high performance, you don't always get that. And nobody would cold call if there's a better way to do it. They really wouldn't. I get that because it's slow, it's hard, it's humbling. And rejection, you go through a rejection like a win. You're going to learn that going for the no is part of winning. And when you know that if you're going to talk to 100 people, you're going to get one listing, how many people in increments of 100 do you want to talk to? That's what these folks think about on a daily basis. So it really takes skill and it takes discipline, but it actually does work. So this is the last one before I just let these guys start telling you what's happening. The share group, when your sphere of influence kind of dries up, when the pipeline tends to stall, you may need to do the unthinkable, which is what these guys do every day. Just call total strangers and start building your own bulletproof pipeline where you don't have to rely upon anybody else except your technology and the right names to make those phone calls to, and improving their game every day. Sound like a good start, everybody? We in for this? Love it?
Yep.
All right. You've listened to enough of me. These are the three great guys who are going to talk to you today about how they build their business. And Blake and Brandon and Max are going to do a little bit different from the last time I did because this is the second time together. I'm going to put Blake up first. Blake in Minneapolis. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I think I got 3 slides and I'm excited. You're on. Go for it, partner.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, first off, thank you everyone for allowing us to jump on here. This is pretty cool. So I get to go first this time, which is pretty awesome. So yes, like Tim said, I'm out of Minneapolis. I've been selling houses for 18 years now. And so when I first started selling houses, I was very much thinking that it was going to be easy, kind of like an if you build it, they will come. Quickly learned that it's real estate is definitely a direct sales business. Once I learned that, I was pretty much off to the races. First off, started off door knocking. And then I shifted to cold calling because, as you guys can imagine, here in Minneapolis, it gets pretty cold. You can't door knock year round, although I do still do some now that it's door knocking season is what I call it. Here's my philosophy. Consistency is definitely my claim to fame, as it says here on the slide. I've got for years now, I can't even tell you how long I've been following the exact same schedule, over a decade, but from 8 to noon, I'm on the phones. If I'm not on the phones, I'm at the door, depending on what the weather is. And my philosophy is some will, some won't. Who cares? Someone's waiting. And I got that from the book Go for No, which actually shifted my entire mindset around prospecting as a whole. So before, I was definitely doing a lot of calling to try and convince people to sell their houses. And it just came from a lot of the older scripts that I was following at the time. And after reading Go for No and another book called High Probability Selling, I kind of stripped away all of the nonsense from my scripts and just started asking people. Right now, as I've gotten into my 18th year of business, I've actually started my own brokerage, bringing on a couple of different agents right now and building out a team. And what we call it is trick or treating, right? If we're at the door or on the phone, we're basically just asking people if they have any interest in selling their house. That script changes slightly for a different lead, depending on what the lead is. But what I find is that most people, when they hear a script that simple, will either tell you no or they'll tell you yes. And I find that once I hear no 100 times, I'm probably going to get close to a yes. So all I have to do is constantly go for no, go for no, go for no, fail and fail fast until I get to that yes. And once I get to that yes, that's the person I'm going to help. So we do a lot of talking about pipeline as well when it comes down to lead generation. My pipeline is actually, I consider it to be inverted. I'm not looking to put people in the top and funnel them down. I'm looking to find the people that want my help and are willing to work with me, and then I take them up the hill. Right. So, and it becomes super easy. My closing, once I get to an appointment, I already know that they want to sell their house. I know they want to work with a realtor. All I have to figure out is whether or not my services make sense for them. And as of now, I feel like I've caught a flow of just being able to tell people what I have to offer, understand their needs, provide good service, and the referrals start to come in. So what I love about what I've heard in the beginning of this webinar that we're on now is that you guys do a lot of prospecting with a marketing kind of backing you up there. And what I learned early on is that the more signs I had in the ground, that was my marketing. That became my name recognition. And so I started making those calls, putting the signs in the ground. And what I mean by that is getting the listings and doing the marketing of the listings started to get my name recognition in the areas that I was calling. So when I was getting those leads from ShareGroup, when it came down to the downsizers, likely to sales, absentee owners, people eventually would start saying, "Hey, I know your company, I know your name." And I was just simply asking, do they want to sell and do they want to work with me? And then setting an appointment. So it takes time, but I start to track what I can control. And what I can control is my activities day in and day out. All right. So I pick up the phone and collect 10 no's every working day before 1 p.m. Right. A lot of times I get more than that, but my minimum is 10. Usually I say on average, I would collect 20 or 30 no's a day. There's truly unlimited opportunities in any market. It's not my job to convince anyone to sell their house. In fact, if someone walked up to you right now and asked if you wanted to sell your house, you would most likely say no. But if you had any idea in your head that you wanted to sell your house, you might actually entertain it. You might say something like, maybe, I'm not sure. And then that's the conversation that we can have. And that's where you spend your energy talking to. One of the other things that I got from the book, Never Split the Difference, it's not a sin to lose business. It's a sin to take a long time to lose business. So be very picky with who it is that you decide to work with, because it's just as much about how you do business as it is of how much business you do. And then my prospecting philosophy outside of some will, some won't, who cares, someone's waiting, is be brief and be gone. That's my commercial. Be brief and be gone. Whenever somebody talks to me, they probably don't even remember they talked to me when I call them back in 3 weeks. um, so why do I choose this plan? Um, First of all, I would say door knocking, number one, hands down, is probably one of the best lead generation strategies you can do, because real estate is definitely a belly to belly business. However, it's not efficient, right? You can't do it every single day. It's weather determined, how you feeling, where you are. For me, I probably can't door knock for at least 4 months out of the year. So picking up the phone and making those calls are efficient and profitable. Um, my average cost for lead generation is between $3,500 to $5,000 per year. And year over year, my goal is to close a minimum of 2 deals per month. And using these leads and making the calls that I do, that easily pushes up to 3 to 4. So the return on investment is huge. Um, some of the other things that I use as far as my marketing is I do some video emails, and mainly for my listing marketing. And then I always promote my reviews out there, because I pride myself on giving good service. Um, I always use a dialer. Cloud CMA is something that I use to create market evaluations for people that I'm working with. And direct mail, I find even more so now than even email, is becoming really, really effective now too. So my just listed, just sold postcards, and smaller campaigns that I'll run to people that I've spoken to and want to sell within the next 12 months. So I try to keep it simple. That's really it.
That is awesome, Blake. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Yeah, yeah.
that. We're going to do some roundtable questions in a little bit. And next up is Brandon, my man down in San Clemente. How are you today, Brandon?
Good, Tim. Thanks for having me. So, fun fact, when Blake started selling real estate, I was 10 years old. So, if that gives you any idea into how young I am, there you go. So, no, thank you guys for having me. So, I've been licensed for 3 years now. This is the start of my third year. As you can see there, I previously worked in the restaurant industry. I actually moved to California in the middle of COVID. So 2020, didn't know anybody out here. I had one friend that I went to college with. Outside of that, I didn't know a single person. Definitely didn't know anybody that could afford to buy a home, nor did I know anybody that owned a home. So that was kind of how I got started in this whole thing. So currently I work in San Clemente, California. That's where I live and work. I've lived here basically the entire time that I've been in California. Let's see how I got into the business. After I was in the restaurant business, I started working an office job. Just realized very quickly that it wasn't for me. I missed interacting with people. I missed kind of just being in control, right? And when you're behind the bar, you kind of run the show a little bit, right? So I kind of missed that human to human interaction and kind of missed having that experience with people. So I said, hey, real estate sounds like a good idea. I like real estate. I've always believed in it. I heard about a lot of people that were doing very well in it, so I thought I'd give it a shot. So that's how I got into it. So just some numbers here, closed and pending year to date, right at 14.5 million. So the goal for this year is 35 million. So hopefully should be on track there. Just to give you guys reference, I am in California. Average price point where I am is, anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million. So I'm not selling 100 homes a year to hit that volume number. We are lucky we get some higher price points. So in terms of, kind of what I do for my prospecting is, it's pretty simple. When I got into the business, everybody was like expireds for sale by owners, canceled, like that's where you got to start. And, I tried that a little bit and I realized, it's bloody waters down there, right? You're going against so many different people. There's always somebody who's going to do it for less, right? There's always somebody who has more experience. And as a newer agent, I was just like, man, I don't know. This just doesn't seem like the best way to do it. So for me, what I thought about is, and this was before I even knew about the share group and what a downsizers list was, I started prospecting literally just in the area that I lived. And I just said, I'm just going to try and talk to as many people as I can, whether they're thinking about doing anything or not. I don't know, but I'm just going to call them and ask and see if there's anything there or not. So in the beginning, I had zero skills, didn't know what I was saying, but I actually got my first listing literally from a call where I called somebody and told them I had a buyer for their property, which I didn't, right? But it got me a conversation, it got me in front of them. From there, I got my first listing, and then I was like, okay, well, if I have zero skills and I just converted a listing, imagine what would happen if I worked on my skills and actually learned the questions to ask, learned how to talk to people, and learned what I was trying to accomplish from the call, right? So that's kind of how my cold calling journey started. So what I'm doing now, my whole goal is when I'm prospecting, I kind of think about it as like you're hunting for business, right? So for me, I only prospect in the city that I work in. I don't prospect outside of that. So when I'm prospecting, I'm calling neighborhoods that I want to work in. And my goal is to find somebody in that neighborhood that's looking to sell, have a good conversation with them, eventually get a face-to-face conversation with them. And then hopefully take the listing, right? And then from there, when I do take the listing, I then leverage that listing to try and get more listings in said area. And that's essentially what I've built my entire business off of, is getting a listing, doing a phenomenal job from the marketing, from steps A to Z, everything in between, getting a good result, telling the neighbors about it, and then basically just rinse and repeat, call more people, tell more people about it, and kind of just grow from there. Some things that have kind of evolved for me lately, I did hire an ISA, an inside sales agent, to help leverage me, get more contacts throughout the day. Like I said, I'm not managing 10 to 15 transactions at a time. So for me, I don't necessarily need admin help. For me, I just want to get on more appointments, right? So I've leveraged an ISA to help find more contacts who I could then have follow-up conversations with and hopefully get me more appointments to lead to more listings. Daily metric goals, I usually aim for 30 conversations a day. I don't focus so much on the lead anymore. I just focus on the conversation. Who am I talking to? Is it a good conversation? Is it a conversation that I can revisit, or is it somebody that I can go door knock and get a face-to-face with after we do have a good phone conversation? As far as what I've invested into the share group, I think you saw kind of the ad there. The lists that I bought for about $1,500 directly generated me about $85,000 in GCI. And that doesn't include anything that's came from those listings. That's just directly, I called these people off this list, set an appointment with them, took the listing, sold it, right? So there's a lot of business that's came as a result of those listings, open houses, direct mail, things of that nature. So it's only counting the direct business. As far as tech stack, I use Mojo Dialer and Follow Up Boss. I don't have any crazy tech stack or anything. I actually focus on just trying to keep everything super personal with all my leads. So if I do have leads that are selling and they're looking to buy, I usually just set them up on searches on my MLS to where the properties go to me. I can then take that property, send it to them, and just say, hey, Bob, I think this might work for you. It has that big backyard you're looking for. It has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I try and keep everything really personal. I personally am not a big fan of automated things. So I try and keep it as personal as I can for now. But as the business grows, I'm sure I'll definitely, add more leverage into there.
Brandon, I know you've mentioned that before, where you do the face-to-face after the successful cold call. So that takes you from a conversation to a face, and all the barriers are down at that point. So how do you get that face-to-face after you've had a good call?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's super easy, honestly. When you're having a good conversation with somebody, I kind of just end it with, hey, Tim, I'm in your neighborhood pretty often. I mean, would you hate me if I swung by and just introduced myself and put a name to a face? And I don't know what the conversion rate is on that, but it's probably 100%. It's very non-threatening, right? It's not about me. I'm not there to sell them anything. It's just, hey, would love to come introduce myself. And when I do, I go there and I introduce myself and I give them a 1-page drop off about me. I don't try and sell them on anything. I don't ask them about their home. If they bring that up to me, that's totally fine, but I'm not there with any agenda other than just have a good follow-up conversation.
And see how handsome you are and committed and all that. That's great. I like it. Very good. That's key though, because now it's a whole other level when they see you. So fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, keep the questions coming in the chat. And then we're gonna go to Miami. Mr. Max Solinsky,
Hey.
who speaks how many languages? He's too smart and too good looking.
Well, appreciate you for having me here. Thank you very much. Yeah, so a little bit about my background. So I was born in Germany, came over in 2018. Was working for corporate America at the time, actually for a mining company. Fairly quickly decided this is not what I want to do for many, many years going on. So tapped into real estate, was not full time in the beginning. And then in 23 is actually when I took the leap. I immediately decided, I'm going to focus on cold calling. There was not even a question for me at the time to do anything different. And the reason really for me was I think Blake and Brandon had really kind of outlined that what resonated with me is I wanted to be in control. I wanted to make sure that I determine the quality of the leads that I'm getting and build a pipeline that way. For me, I've run businesses before and I felt like this is the only way I can really sustainably grow that and kind of control where this thing is heading. I didn't want to be reliant on Zillow or anybody of these platforms. So yeah, it's been going pretty well for me. I'm just behind Brandon actually. I saw his 14 and a half. That's great. I'm at 10 and a half now. Tomorrow, some more closings coming in, so we'll hit that mark. For me, what I really do is it's a listing based business. I'm not prospecting for buyers. I'm not paying anybody for buyers. So all the buyers transactions that I have is either because I have somebody who wants to sell and buy, or because I'm getting referred to other folks. I have a lot of people, to Blake's point, putting my sign in the yard that call me on my listings that do not have an agent, and they meet me. They feel like it might make sense to work together, and I'm not asking them, I'm not pushing them to work together. But I just had this the other day. Somebody called me up, came to an open house 2 months ago. We stayed in touch. They're actually a contractor just moving down here to Southeast Florida. Obviously, they wouldn't need an agent, but they decided they would like to work with me. So that's how I get my buyer leads. I just strictly focus on the sales side, and everything else is icing on the cake for me. So my business is set up primarily. I went down that road that Brandon doesn't like. So I was chasing FSBOs and expireds for the longest part, and I don't mind it. I mean, I get exactly what he's saying. It's not always great, obviously. Some people curse at you, some people are appreciative of you calling, but there's always somebody that you can help. So I really don't care about that. They don't know me. It's not personal. It never is. So I'm just looking for that one person that I can help, and then I'll take it from there. Expireds is about probably still 60-70% of my business. I've added TheShareGroup about, man, Tim, how long has it been? Year and a half, maybe, something like that.
Yeah.
Not too long. So over a year and a half, about I've built. Now it's more than $40 million in pipeline just from those leads, and I can see that slowly but steadily they're starting to mature, and they're going to market. So for me, my goal was when I added that pillar, other than expired, so downsizer is likely to sell, whatever the lead category is, and then I wanted to have more of a downstream look at my business. What's phenomenal about Brandon's business, for instance, is he knows 6, 12 months down the road who's going to list, and that's what was missing in my business, because it was always chasing the next expired. So I tried to change that and have more strategic view on who am I actually calling, and converting, so I can control my business downstream. Similar to what Coach Pipe said, you got to take those strategic pivots, every once in a while to kind of see, is your pipeline healthy? Are you converting? And if not, what's the change you got to make? What I truly believe in is, you can't be the go-to agent for everybody, and that's not how I see myself, and I don't really mind if there's somebody that chooses somebody over me. You can't win them all. You don't want to win them all. There's some cases where it's just not a good fit for either side, and that's totally cool. So what I try to do is I detach myself from the outcome. I bring a lot of value to the table, and the folks that I'm talking to when I have a listing presentation, I make sure they see that. But if it's not a fit, that's all right. There's going to be more down the road that I can convert, because it's a contact sport in the end, right? It's a sheer volume game. And so for me so far, it's been working out really well. What I try to do is I focus more on the hours, because that's really the only thing that I can control. So when I prospect, I go from 8 to 11, and I just hit the phones. First hour from 8 to 9, I do expireds. Another half an hour after that, I do old expires, and then I switch over to ShareGroup leads, do downsizers, circle prospect, and whatever it is, and do that until 11. So I want to make sure by the end of my first prospecting session that I have at a minimum, hopefully somewhere between 25 and 30 brand new contacts for the day, and then usually would generate probably 1 or 2 leads from those, and then after that it's follow up. Now the thing is, if I don't have anything going on in the afternoon, I'll hit the phones again, so I can get even more contacts in. That's about it.
That's amazing. I think you had one more. There we go.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. So yeah, contact sport. Look at that. It's almost like I know these slides.
You wrote it.
Yeah, right. I had a feeling. Yeah. So for me, it's a contact sport. So it's there are days sometimes where I don't have a single lead, and then all of a sudden on a Friday, boom, I get 4 or 5, in my pipeline. And so it's a law of large numbers that just always pans out. It's kind of crazy, but but what I've realized is I've been doing this long enough now. There will be a point in time where you feel like you're just treading water. Nothing is coming out of it, or at least not good enough stuff is coming out of it. But eventually that dam is going to break, and the leads will come rushing in. So it's just a matter of being consistent. I have a lot of folks here in my area that keep asking me like how I do it and what I do, and they tell me, well, I'm thinking about getting into cold calling, and I might do it a day or two a week. And the number one thing I tell them is, it really is not going to be helpful to anybody if you prospect one day out of a month for like 10 hours or whatever. You're just not going to be happy. It's going to feel like you're putting a lot into this, when really you're not. It's not so much about doing it one time. It's about the consistency, because not everybody's waiting to receive your phone call. Not everybody's waiting for Maximilian to call them up and see if they want to sell. People are unavailable many times. Half of the dials I make, they go to voicemail, so you got to keep at it. Eventually you'll get them on the phone, and then you can see if you can properly disqualify them, because a lot of people will just tell you whatever you want to hear over the phone. So you really got to pay attention to what they're saying and dig down to the motivation. So in terms of my metrics, I need about 145 contacts to get one signed listing agreement. The way I disqualify those leads gives me a really high appointment set to met ratio. So I'm at 89% appointment set to met. And that essentially just means if I set an appointment with somebody, they actually want to have that appointment with me. It's not like they're canceling or they said, yeah, let's have that appointment max just to get me off the phone, and then later on they cancel. My plan of attack is, the best thing that I've ever learned is you gotta really block your calendar for prospecting. There's always something that comes up. There's always somebody that needs something that really is not urgent or could have been done in the afternoon. So what I'm doing is 8 to noon, I mean, everybody knows not to call me. My broker knows it. My family knows it. So unless the house is burning, I do not want to hear from you. So I just do my prospecting. There's nothing that comes up that can't be tackled in the afternoon. And that also goes for showings. So I'm a single agent. I don't have a huge team that I'm rolling with over here. So if there's a showing that needs to be done, it will be the afternoon. And if your buyer is serious, you will show up in the afternoon. I've never had a problem with that. It's been working well for me so far. So yeah, that's about it.
145 contacts. What's a contact?
Oh, great question. Thank you, Tim. So for me, a contact is if I want to call Billy Bob and the person that picks up the phone is Martha Smith, that's not a contact for me. I made a call there, but it's not a contact. Only if Billy Bob picks up the phone, that's a contact for me.
Got it.
So if the person that I'm calling for, which is the owner of the house, and I have a conversation with them if they might be inclined to selling their house or not, that's a contact for me.
And what would you say your spend is on lead generation, data, dialers, CRM, software, kind of, what are you outsourcing in terms of a cost at a month or annual?
Probably less than you spend on a vacation, Tim. So I spend about $300 for, well, actually, I'm sorry, $125 for my dialer on a monthly basis. My CRM is Follow Up Boss. That's $70 maybe, something like that. Okay. I don't send out a ton of direct mail. What I really do is I buy on Amazon these thank you cards. They look like wedding invites, but you just punch in as on Amazon thank you cards. There's like 100 of them you get for $30. So I handwrite these cards as I'm talking to you, Tim, and I'm disqualifying you as my lead. If I feel like you are a lead from me, you go into my database. So as I'm talking to you, going through this conversation, I'm already handwriting this card. And so by the end of my prospecting session, I go to the post, drop it off, and in a couple of days, you'll have a thank you card with my business card, and where I just say, hey, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me and for sharing your plans and thoughts to potentially sell your house. Whenever the time is right for you and you're open to meeting to see how I might be able to help you sell the house, would love to have a face-to-face.
Great. Coach Pipes, do you have any questions?
Hey, Tim, yeah, I want to step in here first of all.
Right? Go for it.
So,
Thank you.
I don't know what the hell I did to my screen. I can't see myself. I can't see anything. I can't see the participants. So I have screwed everything up. But let me just look here. Now all I can see is Max slide. So I hope I can see you guys. Let me exit full screen so I can see you guys. All right. Couple of key things here. The word is margins, right? That I want you guys to like really think about as you're listening to this. Hey, Brandon, congratulations on where are you, Brandon? Like year number one, not year number one, 3 years to $1 million, bro. Let's go. Max, you're pacing that as well too. I know that as that Miami market opens up and the pipeline opens out, that shit's going to go down, and that's year number 2. The access to 7 figures, guys, I want you to notice, is so freaking simple for these guys right now. And when you think $1 million of what they're doing right now, it really is high margin, big return, because there's people that are selling 4 to 5 million that I guarantee you aren't taking home what these guys are. I'm going to ask you guys a quick question. Blake, margins, how do you run on your margins in your business, man?
My margins are great. I mean, similar to Max, I do just some handwritten thank you cards as far as direct mail goes. My dialer and my CRM right around the same cost per month. So those margins are amazing. I mean, I would dare to say it's pretty much all profit.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Because dude,
Yeah.
Blake, there's people out there that run 15 to 20% margins with these big teams that aren't making anywhere close to what the 3 of you guys are, right? And they've got that insane overhead, and you know it. And they're on stage and you see them. This is for me a real business model. Brandon, what about for yourself, man? Like probably high margins as well too inside the business, probably like minimal cost.
Yeah, pretty high. I don't have a number for you. There's areas of my business that are growing, and one of them is being a business owner. But yeah, high margins. You know, I do spend a good amount in terms of marketing my listings. So I really pay to have the best photography, videography. I do believe in direct mail. The markets that I work, it's an older demographic who does look at the mail, and I've had a lot of success with direct mail. So I have doubled down on it more lately than I probably would have. But yeah, the margins are healthy. That's for sure.
How long did it take, Max, for this to get like the prospecting commitment? Because I love what you said. Like, if you're just going to do it for an hour here and there, don't even bother. You're not doing anyone any, yourself or anyone else any good. How for all of you guys, like, you made the commitment. Was it just like overnight? Hey, piece of cake. I'm freaking in the grind for 3 hours. Like, I want to know about that transition into like, oh shit, this just got okay, cool. Like, the gym just got easier right now. This isn't such a burden. So I'd love to hear from you guys on that for everyone.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. So, I mean, for me, it felt like you're training a muscle. It's like a workout essentially. So at first, I remember like the very first cold calls that I ever made, probably after an hour and a half, I was so exhausted. I thought I'd really done something incredible, and I was like, wow, like how do others do this for 3, 4 hours? And then over time, if you just keep at it, it's just like a muscle you're training. Now I'm calling for 4 hours. I'm like, oh, it's about lunchtime. Do another four after lunch. So it really like you're building something up that just makes you. I mean, it just elevates your game so much if you just do it consistently. So yeah, there's nothing
And
much
dude,
to it.
it's
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 just you got to
something
do it.
that no one can take away from you once you've gotten that. Like, that's the thing about a beautiful skill and a great discipline. Like, Zillow can change the game immediately. OGO and all these other companies like that game, and they do all the time. But your skill, your discipline, no one takes that away. Blake, for yourself, like, if you had to say a time frame, and Brendan, I'm going to ask the same question for you as well too. Was it 60 days, 90 days, 120 days before it just went the skill level got there, but also like
Right.
your consistency was just like, shit, I got this, man.
So from the consistency standpoint, that was pretty much day one for me. Like I knew that I was talking to my very first broker, and he was telling me kind of about like what to do to get business, and I was automatically thinking about the margins, like you said earlier, and what was free was going to the door. So at that time, I was a part-time agent. And on my way home from work, I would just stop off in a neighborhood and knock on 100 doors and
That's right.
talk to about 20 or 30 people, right? So that would take me a couple hours. And then once I found out about dialers and whatnot, it was super easy. I could just sit down and make a bunch of calls for a few hours. But I would say it took me about 90 days to really get the skills down and really get into what I call a flow state, right? Where it was
Cool.
just like I was getting there. I knew what to say. I was just having natural conversations with people, and that's when everything just started to kind of click.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But again, that was years ago. That was years and
Yeah,
years ago, though.
yeah.
And now it's like, yeah,
You're the old dude on the call
for
today, dude.
sure,
Like,
for
you're
sure.
the
I'm
old
realizing that now.
man. Like,
I'm realizing that now.
Well, I think
But
it's
now it's like
important.
muscle memory.
I think it's important for everyone to recognize that, like, and I want you guys to see this, that like Max hits expireds, right? Blake is hitting some downsizers. Brandon's hitting his, some communities. Like they each have their own game that they're playing as well, too, guys. That's important, is that you get to actually define and call your own shot on the way that you want it to look. I do have one more question, then I'll turn it over. How many leads, and a lead for me is someone like I'm going to define it here for this, someone that wants to buy or sell in 30 days or less, right? Like, that's like that bottom of the funnel type of, like, how many of those do you guys typically carry during at any given time that you have that are 30 days or less? Brandon, I'll go you, and then Blake, and then Max, you can clean up for us.
30 days or less, bottom of funnel at any given time. I would say probably, you're just talking sellers here or anything, sellers
Sellers
or
or buyers,
buyers.
sellers or buyers. Yeah.
I would say, I don't know, between 5 and 10, I would say
There you go.
probably. Maybe closer to five. A lot of a lot of the leads that I am getting are actually more like mid funnel. And I prefer it to be that way. And the reason is because I'm very big on, I say this all the time, and anybody who I talk to, I always say this. I say, become someone's agent before you're actually their agent. And
That's good.
I truly believe that that's been one of the biggest difference makers for me is um, probably a little bit too much. I invest into these people from a very early point in time. And I'm not saying money, but I invest my time, I invest my energy, and I invest my knowledge into helping these people from maybe literally the day I meet them up until the time that we actually sign on the dotted line. And during that time, for the most of it, there's nothing contractually obligating them to me, right? But my belief is that I'm going to provide you with so much value that you would never go anywhere else, right? And it works, right? I provide people with a lot of value and I become their agent long before we actually have a contractual agreement. So to not stray too far from your question, I would say bottom of funnel probably around five at a time, but that kind of mid to top of funnel, I definitely have a lot more in that realm.
Which is great because you're always cultivating and nurturing that group, which is they fall down in your 5 or 10 at any given time. But Blake, thank you, brother. By the way, hey Brandon, next time I'm in Southern California, two things. Number one, we got to go up to Dana Point. I graduated from Dana Hills. We got to hit Dana Hills for Peking Dragon, best Chinese food, and then we'll go have drinks on the Fisherman, right?
Let's
And
do
so I bullshit, man. Okay, Blake,
it.
you're up, dude. You're up, brother.
I'm coming out there for that.
Yeah, you want to be there.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, very similar to Brandon. I would say probably I carry anybody that's going to be looking to sell specifically in the next 30 days, probably about five, maybe a little less. Like I said, it takes a lot for somebody to say, yes, I want to sell now, right? A lot of the people that I speak to are looking at maybe 90 days, 6 months, maybe even a year out. And those are the people that I do tend to spend a lot more time with. I really quick story, matter of fact, I have a listing that went live today. That is the next door neighbor of one of the homes that I called off of a share group list. It's a downsizer. Helped them get their home sold very quick for a really good price. Beginning of this year, the neighbor, very next door neighbor reaches out, says they were speaking to the neighbor and said they were just giving me praises for all the things that I did for them in the time leading up to listing their house. And that house next door just went live today. So both of those are 500,000 plus houses. So very good return on investment once again. But again, like Brandon said, you said that it's almost a little bit too much time that you spend. I don't think there's really too much time that you're spending with someone just to build that relationship. 'Cause at the end of the day, I think it will come to fruition, whether it's them or they'll send you a referral in the meantime.
Man, that's amazing, man. Max, same thing. Like, are you in the 5 to 10 range on shorter
Yeah,
term leads?
absolutely. Yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
the expires probably they push that up. You know, every once in a while it might be closer to 10, but for the most part, I would say five. And then the longer funnel, like 60, 90 days out, that's going to be more for me then.
Yeah, beautiful. I could ask you guys this like question after question, but I'd be cheating everybody from being able to jump in and do their and like get their love as well too. So why don't we, hey Tim, why don't we open this up and jump in the chat and see what we got on the questions. I know you guys have been answering them along the line, which has been great, and I really do appreciate that. So what do we got here? Um, let's see here. Okay, hey
Kathy
guys.
Ray was
Good.
asking. Yeah.
Yeah, what did Kathy say? Debrief and where's Kathy? Doom, doom, doom. For me, all my trainings webinars are always at, okay. So she's got trainings, webinars, everything from 7 a.m. to 12 or 1 p.m. the Pacific Northwest zone. Makes it a little harder for me to call in the mornings. Are afternoons an appropriate time to call too, and or evenings? Great question. Every single one of you does it before 12 o'clock, right? Unless it's, I think Max, you said, hey, I've got additional time in the afternoon, so I'm going to fill that additional time. But how do you answer Kathy? And that's a very common question. That's just like, dude, I got so much stuff in the morning. I can't, like, how do I carve that out and be able to fit everything around?
I'll
I can
add
jump in
something
on
here.
that one
Oh, go
too.
ahead, Blake.
Sorry about that. I was just going to say, just to answer that really, really quick, is that it really depends on the lead source that you're calling. I mean, obviously, like expireds and for sale by owners, those are kind of what I would consider to be time sensitive. It's always good to be first to call them. But some of these other leads, like downsizers, absentees, things like that, I find that generally any time of the day, I probably get about a 20% answer rate. One of the best times to call is probably between 6 and 8 in the evening, to be honest with you as well. So if you really want to put a time to it, that's kind of the short answer to that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Brandon, you were going to hop in, dude?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, Blake hit it right on the head. It depends on the source. If you're gonna call expired listings at 4 p.m., it's probably gonna be pretty tough because those guys have probably gotten 50 calls, right, by the time you get to them at 4 p.m. But the beauty about doing what I do, and I think what some of these other guys do as well, is I'm not calling anybody that's getting flooded by realtors, so I can call them at any time of the day, right? If I decide that I want to take the morning for myself and just have a morning where I go to the gym, do whatever I want to do, if I want to invert my schedule that day, it doesn't matter because the sources that I'm calling, it doesn't necessarily matter what time of day you call them. In fact, later in the day sometimes is actually better because people are getting off work. right? They're just a little bit more willing to talk. Sometimes when you call people who have no intentions of ever selling first thing in the morning, they're like, dude, why are you calling me? You know, so sometimes you have better conversations. So I would say if you have those things in the morning, depending on what your goal is, if you are going to incorporate calling into your business, is maybe call through either your farm or a farm that you want to break into and just have conversations with these people. I mean, that's I'm such a big believer in that because that's how I've gotten into any farm that I've ever gotten into is literally by just having these conversations. And then one thing leads to another. Next thing you know, you got your sign on the ground and it's from there, you're off to the races.
Every single one of you have said this, and I think it's brilliant because you are seller based, which is fantastic, and I love that. You said, "Hey, my best advertisement is the sign that I have in the front yard, and on top of that, the marketing that I get to do after I take the listing." Well, you know, it's funny. Early 2010, 11, 12, the entire industry was listing based, guys. Like what you guys are doing was sort of like the norm. It's like, hey, this is what you do. You go after listings and then the buyers would show up, and then it all shifted with Zillow and all these other companies that came. Boomtown, I think, was the first big CRM that came out with it. But for your listing acquisition of new listings and the marketing that you do when you take that new listing, I'd love to hear from you guys. What's the simple marketing plan when you take a listing? What happens?
Well, I can answer that. When I take a listing, what I do is I'm with Brandon on this one. I totally believe in really high quality pictures, so I pay more than others to have a really great photographer. Twilight pictures in particular, just there's such a great payback, just make your listing stand out. So I pay a lot of attention how it's positioned, how it comes out. There's a story to tell on each listing, right? So that's what I try to really push out. And then when that's done, there's like a lot of auxiliary marketing you can do. Like, you have a listing now, you call the neighborhood or you don't like the neighborhood. Hey, it's a brand new listing. There's mailers you could send out. So, that's usually, I want to say over a span of probably 2 weeks, that's what I try to put together, to have everything ready to go for whether it's an open house that we start with, the first 2 weekends, usually I like to have an open house back to back to just push everybody that's really interested through the house, make sure ideally they see each other, right? And yeah, then from there on, it's usually just keeping that up.
Beautiful. Blake, thank you, Maximilian. Blake or Brandon, like what's your marketing strategy once you take a listing besides price?
I was going to say very, very first thing is pricing it right, pricing it right. I'm really, really strong on price, but the same thing goes. I kick off a direct mail campaign, just listed or just sold, just listed campaign. And then after that, what I'll do is I'll go and knock on doors in the neighborhood announcing the new listing. It's not necessarily an open house, but if I do have the listing open as far as like go and show kind of situation, if anybody wants to come see the house, they can always come see the house, right? But I'm going out and in the first pass that I do is asking if they know of anybody that wants to move to the area. And then once that house is sold, then I go through and I just do my regular script. Hey, hey, I'm Blake. We might have spoke before about that listing that I had. Well, it's sold. I was just curious if you had any interest in selling as well. And that's one of the best scripts that I use to get people who are actually interested off the fence and want to talk more about selling their house because obviously their neighbor just sold, right?
Because they want to talk about the neighbor, right? They're like,
Yeah,
okay, what did it
exactly,
sell for? How long
exactly.
was it on the market?
Yep,
Did they do that upgrade or not?
yep,
Like
yep,
how is it
exactly.
similar to mine? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Dude,
and then we dig
amazing.
into their plans and we're off to the races there too. So that's really the most that I do. I do some social media marketing for it, but the most bang for your buck is the direct mail, your sign, and then some of those personal contacts around your listing.
Brilliant. Brilliant, dude. Great. Brandon, what about for you, brother, man? I know like San Clemente is such a great place to farm, man, because there's such
Yeah.
killer little pockets and stuff. And it's like you can get hyper local with 400 or 500 home pockets, man. But what do you do when you get
Yeah.
a listing, man? What's the marketing plan machine that happens at that point?
Yeah, so everything that those guys have mentioned, I do it, right? The direct mail when you get the listing, the just listeds. But one thing I want to touch on is something that I kind of do before all this even happens. So anytime I take a listing, I'm always looking at the listing and thinking, okay, your home's worth 1.5 right now. What would make your home be worth 1.6 or 1.65, right? So I'm always looking to see are there comps here that support that increase in price. And I have a really good example because it's a listing that I have right now where all of these things fell into place, and it's like the best example I can give. So long story short, I took a listing from Circle Prospecting, sold that listing with 18 offers. After I sold it, I sent out a piece of direct mail. I got 3 calls. One of them was a listing opportunity. Okay. I'm not going to tell you the full story of how I got it, but I took the listing. I thought their home could probably sell for 1.6 as is, right? But I said, hey, if you have the money to put 20K into a refresh, or if I can bring in somebody who will front the cost for you, I think the home will sell for over 1.7. Okay. So that was the first strategy. They listened to me. We did the pre-sale renovations. We staged it. We did the lighting. We did the painting. We did great photography. Did everything right. Okay. When we brought the property on the market, I didn't do it coming soon. I just put it on and it just hit, right? It was like all of a sudden, Wednesday afternoon, this beautiful killer property with twilight photography, amazing video, everything just pops on the market and people are like, oh my God, honey, we got to get there this weekend, like freaking out, right? So I think timing is really big. Like you got to make it hit right. Like that kind of sounds silly, but it's the truth. Like it's got to hit right. It's got to hit at the right time and it's just got to like pop on Zillow one day and people got to be like, holy shit, we got to go see this house. Okay. So that happened. Obviously price was right. So once the marketing gets out there, everything's dialed in, you get it out there, and then it comes down to like even little things, like when you schedule showings, schedule them where they overlap a little bit. Get people in there at the same time. So one person's leaving, the other one's pulling up, right? And I'm hearing these conversations like, wow, you guys look like you're busy. Yeah, we are busy. We've had 35 people through the open house. So I think like that's the part of all this marketing that falls back to like what I would call salesmanship, right? Having your ability to actually like your job is to sell, right? So I think that's like the part that we can control besides all of the little things that we do. Um, and then obviously once the home's on the market, once we're in escrow, I'm doing, in escrow postcards, all that stuff. One other thing I wanted to touch on, this listing specifically, I'm dual representing it. I brought the buyer. The buyer came from a phone call that I made advertising the listing where I said, hey, we just listed 123 Main Street. I don't know if you know of anybody looking to move into the area. The lady said, no, I don't, but my friends are. Can you tell me more about it? Told her about the listing. Long story short, they came to the open house with their friend, wrote an offer for that buyer. They got the house, ended up double ending it off of literally a circle prospecting call.
Incredible.
So anytime I take a listing, make those calls because you never know who's looking. And our job is to find those people, right? Find the ones that maybe like aren't looking, but if the right property popped up, they would buy it. And that's literally what happened with this transaction.
So brilliant. I love it, man. Dude, I grew up with Mike Ferry, so I got to tell you guys, like, this is like language to my ears. Like, it really is. I'm like, oh, I want to say something to you guys, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. There's a humility that all three of you show that I'm so impressed with. And I think that comes with who you are, number one, but number two, what you do. When you've got to go out there and you choose to hunt every day versus write checks for leads and whatever, and you're doing the business for this versus for service and this, it's okay to make money. There's a humility that there always is, and it's refreshing to actually see this from you guys and the hard work that you're doing. And like it's just exciting to look at the fact that for you guys, this is the beginning of some massive success and some expansion. For Blake that's been in the business for a little bit of time. Okay, guys, anything? Could you do me a favor, everyone? Right? Okay. Because we're over time and we still got 60 of you. Would you please give a big thank you, a like 100% if you got value, or thumbs up, claps, whatever for these guys. And by the way, we'll be sending this information out with their contact information, how you can get a hold of them, because like I'm sure they wouldn't turn down great referrals in either San Clemente, Miami, or in Minneapolis. So is it Minneapolis, St. Paul, right? Is that right? Yep. Okay, cool. From me to all of you, thank you so much for the reiteration of the fundamentals that are so critical, and the reminder that business can be simple, and that like you don't have to pay to play. You can pay with your skills, you can pay with your disciplines, you can pay with the standards that you set for yourself. And I just want to say thank you. And I know the entire G3 Nation is grateful for you as well too. So thank you guys. We wish you just the most massive success, right? And just an incredible like midway point for the year. Kick ass the rest of the time. And we're always here to support you if you guys need anything. Okay, G3 Nation, you saw the path. Get your freaking asses to work. Pick up the phone. You have no excuse. You can see the shit in front of you guys right now on what is available with some simple moves, right? And some strong discipline. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on the huddle. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Tim, thanks for putting this together.
Thank you.
Peace out, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.